Okay, everybody, good evening. We want to bring the meeting to order. Hello. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Excuse me, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order right now, and as always, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. This evening, I'd like us all to take a moment of silence to honor Bobby Cross Soley, who was our Director of Human Resources. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. We need to address closed session items. I need a motion on resolution number 003.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
That was moved by Director Christoph, seconded by Director Hanel. Roll call vote, please.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
President Jay?
Aye. Are there any statements of abstention tonight? No. Any adjustments to the agenda? Board member requests for information. Mr. Christoph.
Yes, Superintendent Kidmore, I would like to see if I could get a record of the last 5 years of our payments for energy, the PG&E bill. And I don't need it aggregated, I just an overall amount. And I would like to see what the increase or decrease might be in both gas and electricity for the district. Okay, thank you.
And I need a motion on approval of minutes for the September 28th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Pugh, seconded by Director Gonzalez. Roll call vote, please.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
President Jay?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
Now we're going to move right along to our Student of the Month Awards for October 2016. Director Close.
On-off switch. Good evening. Student of the Month Awards. This is the best. So, are you ready? Are you ready for this? We have 3 really good ones. All right. That is the kind of enthusiasm I like to see about students of the month. Okay, the first one is Albert Biella's Student of the Month, Julie Bowie. Stand right here. They're going to take a lot of pictures of you while I say nice things about you. Okay. This is Julie Bowie. Julie Bowie is a student that is admired not only by her peers at Biella Elementary, but also by her teachers and anyone who is lucky enough to meet her. She can be described as intelligent, sweet, well-rounded, athletic, hardworking, helpful, and full of tremendous potential. Whether she is on the court scoring for Biella's basketball team or competing in the citywide spelling bee, Julie is always putting forth her best effort. Julie is one of those students that you hear about long before she enters your classroom. She's a student that previous teachers have raved about and love to teach, a student that teachers hate to say goodbye to. She is also a person that is just as wonderful as the hype once you get to know her. There are very few people that are like that, by the way, that live up to their hype. Julie is known around campus for her generosity and giving personality. If you can't find her, she's probably helping a former teacher grade homework or helping another classmate with challenging homework problem just before the bell rings. She is always offering to stay after class to help out wherever it's needed. And when she finishes assignments early, she helps those around her and offers to help me with anything I need. When placed in groups for assignments in the classroom, Julie always listens to the opinions of others and supports her peers to help them be confident in their thinking. Julie can often be seen facilitating a whole group of students to keep their work on track and to make sure that it is as the best that it can be. She is always an excellent example for student behavior whenever you look at her. Julie always does her best in school, but she makes sure to have fun and to not take life too seriously as well. Over her years at Biella, she has made a big group of friends. She has already attended Comstock basketball games with huge posters in hand to root on her former teammates. Julie has an extremely bright future ahead of her. We cannot wait to see what amazing things she will do in the rest of her time at Biella, as well as in her journey after she leaves our little community. No matter what happens in the future, we are all sure that she will be successful and continue to amaze everyone she meets. So on behalf of the district, the School District of Santa Rosa, we award you Student of the Month for Albert Biella. Okay, next we have Hawk Gallardo, is that right? Yes. From Lawrence Cook Middle School. Hawk Gallardo is Lawrence Cook Middle School Student of the Month for September 2016. Cook teachers and staff describe Hawk as hardworking, conscientious, kind, and an all-around wonderful person. He is a prototype avid student who has worked hard to overcome challenges so that he can occupy the honor roll every quarter of his time at Cook. That is awesome. Hawk's English teacher, Mrs. Lacey, reports that Hawk is always working to improve himself, his reading, his vocabulary, and writing. She reports that he strives for his personal best every single day and maintains a high degree of responsibility with all assignments and tasks. As an avid student, Hawk maintains a positive attitude toward any task that comes his way, is more than willing to work with his peers to solve problems and become academically successful, and treats everyone he meets with respect. Mrs. Moore reports that Hawk helps his tutorial group stay productive and focus on the really tough questions. Additionally, Hawk is a talented athlete and artist. He's a member of the cross-country, basketball, and track teams at our school. Coach Krause states that Hawk is a leader in both cross-country and track. He says that he works hard to stay in shape and is always encouraging others to do their best as well. All of Hawk's teachers describe him as a joy to have in their classes. Meanwhile, peers desire to be in his group as well. So, Maria Correa High School is honored to present you our Student of the Month, Spencer Natherda. Spencer is a senior at Carrillo who is actively involved in school, sports, leadership, and public speaking. Spencer is a genuine, kind, caring, and helpful young man. He is always ready to give a hand to anyone in need, whether they be staff, students, or parents. But what makes him really special is his humility. He does not believe that his actions deserve any special recognition, as they are truly a part of who he is. As a student, Spencer is articulate, intelligent, self-reflective, and independent. He consistently applies critical, analytical reading, writing, and study skills. He is deeply connected to the pursuit of self-knowledge. He is an adventurous thinker, and his writing and speaking reflect his critical and creative nature. Spencer's unique voice and genuine interest in learning set him apart in the classroom. As a member of the varsity football team, Spencer exudes all of the qualities of a true student athlete. When on the field, he gives 100% to the team. He is a leader both on the field and in the locker room. Regardless of how things are going, Spencer is always positive and encouraging with his teammates. They look up to him as a leader. Another area where Spencer shows his true leadership abilities is as a member of student government. He takes great pride in his school and the impact he has on it. Every day you can count on seeing Spencer around campus engaging with students from many different grade levels and social groups. He is a firm believer in inclusion and works very hard to make all students feel a part of Carrillo. He is a respected and well-liked leader among his peers. He has a keen understanding of people and knows how to reach his audience. At Carrillo, the goal is to cultivate students who are powerful producers, universal citizens, master communicators, and active learners. Spencer Natherda is the epitome of all the qualities and characteristics that we expect in a Puma. In June of 2017, Maria Carrillo will lose one of its best, but the world will finally get to experience the young man that we see every day. Congratulations, Spencer. You are a true Puma.
Okay, the next recognition we'd like to do are for the Santa Rosa City School Administrators. Oops, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped the gun. I apologize. What's next?
Next up is I'm sorry, I distracted Diane, that's why she got a little confused there. I asked too many questions. Next, we have our parent organization reports, and we begin with Albert B. Elementary School with Mary, is it Bertling? Is Mary here? Yay, Mary, come on down.
I've been a parent of Bale for the past 11 years. I've had 3 kids come through the school. And I actually, for my side job in the real world, I also work for the county, and I go to schools throughout the entire county, Petaluma to Healdsburg, out to Guerneville. And I have to say, every time I step on Bale's campus, it's a whole other atmosphere. The enthusiasm, the commitment there is just why I send my kids to school. So our active PTA right now works with about a budget of about $25,000 that we shoot to raise every year. And the $25,000 comes from fundraisers from $500 up to $6,000. So far this year, we've had movie nights, we've had a book fair, parent rallied and got pozole made at back to school night for all the parents who would come in after work, which was $500 worth of pozole. We have our walkathon in the next 2 weeks coming up, and I will take sponsors if any of you are available for $200. The programs that we shoot to support are some of the enrichment programs, the Chromebook cart that we supported and funded all last year. There's a new, behind our principal, Ms. Diaz, we have the boys and girls basketball program started last year. The girls made it all the way to championships. It was a huge turnout from the girls and the boys, as well as the community get involved and supporting us with T-shirts and jerseys, all coming from the community and the parents. The field trips and assemblies are supported by our PTA budget. We have things that are the grades going to Oakland Museum, the grades going to the state capitol, and then we have the fourth grade always goes to the mission, the Sonoma mission. And this year, our fourth grade teacher, Susan Fries, who's in the audience, does such an amazing job that they asked to film our school so that they could teach other schools how to do it properly. So we're pretty proud of supporting all of these enrichment programs. It ranges every year, but this year, the walkathon is really shooting to try to get more of the technology, try to get more into other sports besides just the basketball, because it was such a big turnout for the kids. They actually are starting just early practices before pre-practices because they're getting so excited about it. And then the other new thing is that we have a new Biella website up and coming. So the Biella PTA has a separate website that's going to be linked in with the Biella website so that we actually can list all of our events and have an easy access for all the parents to reach. And that's it. Thank you.
Great report. I really like that idea of the parent organization website being linked to the school's website. I don't know if other schools have done that or not, but that's great. It helps people navigate the system much more easily. Thank you for your report. Next up, we have Emily Humphrey from Lawrence Cook Middle School.
Hi, my name is Emily Humphrey, and my daughter, Rebecca, is an 8th grader at Lawrence Cook Middle School. I have been involved with the site council there last year as the president, and this year just being a part of it, as well as being involved with DAC for LC, Allen, and Lawrence Cook Middle School. I'm happy to be here tonight to share some important details about the education opportunities for students at our school. Academic expectations are high and students are being prepped for high school. I'm happy to say that my daughter continues to be successful and stays involved in a number of extra things available at Lawrence Cook Middle School, such as right now they're having the North Bay Science Challenge, as well as playing basketball, and she will be doing wrestling again this year as well. She uses the 0 period, which many of the students do for physical education. They do their PE, which will then allow them to have an extra elective, which Rebecca chose to do another band class, so she's learning lots of instruments. And there I also help with them when they go to their parades. I'll be a chaperone and assist the drummers if they drop their sticks. She was involved in the summer camp there for the mariachi, and they did some performances. And she, again, will be looking into possibly doing it after school if it doesn't interfere with her other sports. So thank you for approving that for Lawrence Cook Middle School. This year, Lawrence Cook started a quiet time twice each day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. Students and teachers practice mindfulness to help them focus for the day. At first, I know my household was a little skeptical about this, but it has helped the campus get off to a calm start this year, and Rebecca does benefit with it. Compact for Success, that is between Lawrence Cook, LC, and Sonoma State University, it is a very tremendous opportunity for the kids at this school. I know the schools being a Title I, I do get the option to transfer my students to other schools if I choose to, but starting when this Compact started up, we chose to take our first daughter out of Willowside and bring her back into the school system to be able to take a part of this. And it has been a wonderful experience for her, and it will be for her sister as well. Via Esperanza Center for Education, it helps to serve the community at the school in many ways. There are classes for parents to learn English and help with their children. The restorative justice program continues to be very positive and has helped the climate of the school. We also do a second cup of coffee on the first Friday of every month, and the ELAC meets right after that, and that gives us an opportunity to meet with the principal, meet some of the teachers, enjoy a cup of coffee and some treats if need be. And that's, well, the basketball, the girls are in the playoffs, so that will be coming up. And I know that our cross-country has always been very good, and Ms. Kraus gives a lot of her time for that. And congratulations, Hawk. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, great report.
Thank you.
And then finally, we have Tia Gavin from Maria Carrera High School.
Superintendent Kitamura, members of the school board, thank you so much, excuse me, for inviting us to come and speak tonight. I'd also like to extend a thank you on behalf of Maria Carrillo's entire parent community for your approval to move forward with funding on our new track and field. As you know, it meant a lot to our community, and we are very grateful. So it's early in the year, but I think I can say in fundraising that our Parents Association is on track to meet our $50,000 goal, as we did last year, and we hope to contribute some of those funds to the wonderful work that our teacher Joe Sims is doing in building our first alumni association and helping plan our school's 20th anniversary celebration. We have transitioned the monthly college prep sessions that our association has always hosted over the years to the new College and Career Center. And though the center is less than a year old, I think it's become a vibrant and integral part of our school already. And that is something else that as parents we are very grateful for. Perhaps our association's primary focus so far this year is in continuing to improve on how we reach parents and provide them with information and tools so that they feel engaged in their children's education. The school sends out a weekly email called the Puma Purr that lists the important events and dates each week that family will want to make note of. But then additionally, our Parents Association sends out a robust monthly newsletter called the Puma Pride. The Pride covers everything from district news to parenting articles and everything in between. We try to highlight a student or a school program each month that we all can take pride in so that we build spirit not just amongst the students, but among the parents as well. We're particularly thrilled that this year the Pride is being done in collaboration with the school and features articles by Principal Zanz, as well as a different teacher each month. And our hope is that this collaboration will continue to deepen the relationship between parents and administration and teachers. Literally reaching our 1,500 or so families is a challenge, however, because only about 20% of our school emails get opened. And we can't determine if that is due to lack of interest on the part of the participants or if the emails are getting lost in the Ethernet. I don't know if that's typical of all schools, but we're trying to get down to the bottom of that. So finally, I'd just like to say that our parent community is excited about the direction in which the school is headed. There's a lot of hard, deep work being undertaken by the Carrillo community this fall, and we really look forward to seeing it evolve and start to bear fruit. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your report. At this point in the agenda, we usually take a break, but I'm going to ask that everybody stay because we have one more very important presentation to make. And now I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Kitamura for that.
Thank you, President Jay. So in recognition of School Administrator Week, we'd like all the administrators to come down. Here's how we're going to do this. I'd like the board to go in front so they can present the certificates and present them with these beautiful arrangements made by Santa Rosa High School's Lisa Peel's floral class. Aren't those beautiful? Oh. And so if the board members will go up front so they can present certificates and congratulate and thank our distinguished administrators who, I'm going to read this because it really says it all. In celebration of California's Week of the School Administrators, SRCS would like to thank our administrators for their hard work and dedication to delivering a quality education to students. We appreciate all that they do to serve the youth of Santa Rosa City Schools. Their leadership reaches beyond our school sites and into the many communities of SRCS. Together, we strive to provide every student an education that prepares them for college and life. We want to thank these dedicated professionals for everything they do this week, but also everything they do all the time. I am blessed and honored to work with these groups of administrators. Please help me in congratulating them one time all together, and then we're going to call them down, and then you're going to congratulate them at the end, okay? You ready? So let's say, yay! Okay, so we're going to hold our applause to the end, and I'm going to start with Beverly Jones, Abraham Lincoln Elementary School, Aida Diaz, Albert Viella Elementary School, Guadalupe Perez Cook, Brook Hill Elementary School. Come on down. Are you guys coming down? I can't see. Elisa Haley, Helen Lehman Elementary School, Elizabeth Newman, Hidden Valley Elementary School, and Hidden Valley Satellite. Michelle Smith, James Monroe Elementary School, Julian Zott, Luther Burbank Elementary School, Kathleen Olmsted, Proctor Terrace Elementary School, Dan Noble, Steel Lane Elementary School, Rebecca Rocha, Cesar Chavez Language Academy, Paul Goudreau, Santa Rosa Charter School for the Arts, Richard Johnstone, Santa Rosa French American Charter School, Ed Navarro, Rincon Valley Middle School and Santa Rosa Accelerated Charter School, Matt Pollock, Lawrence Cook Middle School and Hope Academy, Laura Hendrickson, Hillard Comstock Middle School, Tom Fierro, Santa Rosa Middle School, Shelley Cunningham, Herbert Slater Middle School, Gabriel Abavera, Ridgeway High School, Mary Gail Stabline, Elsie Allen High School, Vicky Zanz, Maria Carrillo High School, Randy Burbank, Montgomery High School, Tim Zalonado, Pioneer High School, and Brad Coscarelli, Santa Rosa High School. Please join me in congratulating and appreciating these wonderful administrators. Aren't they pretty? Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you for everything, you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, love you guys. Yes. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, brother. Yep, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your email. Thank you, Aida. Which one? Sure.
So now we're going to take our 5-minute break so that people can disperse if they want. It looks like you're doing it already anyway. 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, if everybody could find their seat, we'd like to get the meeting going again. Now we're going to move on to public comment of items not on the agenda. Under this item, members of the public may address the board on matters within the subject matter of its jurisdiction. Please, wait a second, the board matter that are not on the agenda. Please submit a speaker card. I have several here already. Upon recognition by the president, please approach the podium. The board will take no action or have any discussion on items not appearing on the posted agenda tonight. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Should a member of the public have comments that pertain to a complaint against an employee of the district, the board advises that the matter should be pursued using the appropriate district complaint procedure. I have 3 cards. First speaker is Matthew Davis, followed by Will Lyon.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Davis. I teach physics at Santa Rosa High School. I also have 3 children who are students at Santa Rosa High School. I'm here to discuss new teacher attraction and retention, as well as the hiring practices of Santa Rosa City Schools. I want to commend the district in its efforts to advertise positions early in the spring semester, well before the end of the school year. I agree wholeheartedly with the district spokesperson's statement in a recent Press Democrat article. He said, when you have a lot of folks competing for teachers, you don't want to wait. I couldn't agree more. I found another interesting quote in that same article. Quote, the district started its hiring process in earnest in January, and because of that, the vast majority of the district's open positions were filled even before the school let out in June. From my perspective at Santa Rosa High, things look quite different. Santa Rosa High positions were not advertised until April or May. Half of the Santa Rosa High positions were filled by June 3rd, I am told. The other half were filled throughout the summer. At least one new hire is an uncredentialed intern. A part-time Spanish position was not filled until September 15th. My stepdaughter's in that class. I've heard similar stories from some, but not all, some other sites. I applaud the district in its goal to advertise positions earlier in the year and look forward to the day when that's happening for all positions at all sites. Another quote from that same article, quote, Santa Rosa, the district, hired 128 new teachers this year. That's a lot. And began the 16-17 school year with 0 vacancies in full-time classroom positions. According to the Santa Rosa Teachers Association, we had 50 retirees last year. So why did the district need to hire 78 additional teachers? Good question. Having a turnover of new teachers year after year is stressful for a school site. Veteran teachers are expected to mentor new teachers. This takes time and effort. Having new teachers come on board for a year or two and then leave for greener pastures, districts that pay health benefits, and then to be replaced by a new teacher who then leaves, it's a kind of a vicious cycle. It's unsustainable. To address this situation, the district needs to work and improve compensation, including health benefits. What was done 2 years ago is greatly appreciated, but it's only a beginning. The district has been willing to spend LCAP funds on this matter, and perhaps the district should explore an additional revenue source to restore health benefits as a district-paid fringe benefit. Specifically, I'm advocating the district really seriously consider a parcel tax. I know that's difficult, 2/3 majority, not popular amongst some, but the current situation cannot continue. I would encourage the board and the superintendent to look further into a parcel tax. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is coming down, Mr. Will Lyon, followed by Chris Birch Rydell. Sorry, Chris, Birch Rydell.
Hi, friends. I'm Will Lyon, Santa Rosa High School, Santa Rosa Teacher Association Vice President. I'm here to say that Santa Rosa City Schools is absolutely having problems attracting and retaining the best educators possible. That's classified, certificated, and administrative, and it's directly connected to compensation, including health care. As Matt mentioned, 128 new hires. The Press Democrat has an article called Sonoma County Schools Dodge Nationwide Teacher Shortage. The teachers don't feel that way, that it was dodged. 128 new teachers, 0 vacancies in a full-time classroom position. That's a 13.6% turnover rate, by the way. The district, this is a quote, started its hiring process in January. Because of that, the vast majority of district's open positions were filled before school let out in June. That's hard to believe, and here's why. There's a public Facebook page called Jobs at Santa Rosa City Schools. On June 7, 4 days after school got out, it posted, quote, "I have been posting a lot of jobs," lots of exclamation points here. "If you're looking for work or know someone who needs a job, please log on to our website to view and apply." I saw that on the 25th of June. So I clicked on Ed Join It then. At that point, there were 3 administrative positions, 122 certificated positions, that's the teachers, and 118 classified positions. That's a lot of job openings if the vast majority of them are full by a week earlier. Or 3 weeks earlier, excuse me. On the 22nd of September, 7 days after Santa Rosa hired its last teacher of the year, and a month after school started, that same Facebook page said, "Looking for work? Log on to our website to view all the open positions. I have custodian positions, special education assistant positions, instructional assistant positions, substitute positions, payroll position, teaching positions, noon duty supervisor positions, coaching positions, and much more." I looked on it today before I came down. There are 120 jobs posted. 17 of them are certificated, 101 of them are classified. We are having trouble attracting and retaining. There are 21 administrators at the comprehensive high school level. 21, 11 of them are new to their job this year. That's a lot of turnover. I talked to one of them who is new, and they were surprised when $1,800 was taken out of their first paycheck for health care. They went down, they called the human resources and said, "Is that for the year?" "Oh no, sorry, that's for the month." So they're getting paid $18,000 less than they thought when they took the job. I'm nervous about it because if we're setting parameters for bargaining with the assumption that we're not having trouble in attracting and retaining, we're going to make some very bad decisions coming up. So I hope that we can all keep that in mind. Thank you for letting me speak too.
Chris Birch-Rydell.
Good evening. My name is Chris Birch-Rydell. I'm a counselor at Santa Rosa High School. I've been a counselor in Santa Rosa City Schools for 23 years. I am here to represent counselors and to speak on the topic of also attracting and retaining positions within Santa Rosa City Schools, specifically counselors. 2.5 years ago, we were here in front of the board making a presentation on trying to create a comprehensive program, counseling program for our Santa Rosa City Schools, and I'm thrilled to say that it's happening. We have elementary school counselors now, middle school, high school. This year we got SOL counselors working with our EL students. We have college career centers. We're excited. So we're super excited that our vision is starting to come to fruition. But I also have concerns with the attrition of the counselors we currently have, as well as in the next 2 years, 8 of the veterans counselors within this district will be retiring. Last year, we hired 4 new elementary school counselors, and before the end of the year, 2 of them had already quit. So that's 50%. This year, we hired, and we have 8 elementary school counselors. We still have an opening for an elementary counselor that we're still looking for that we can't fill. We've been advertising EL counselors for 2 years. This year we were able to get 4. So there is a need. We need more counselors. We are going to have a big vacuum in the next 2 years, and we need to prepare for that. What is going to attract these people to these positions in Santa Rosa City Schools? We've done a fantastic job at now making a comprehensive counseling program. But if we want to continue to make it an effective program, we need to start looking at retaining our counselors. We can't keep retraining people every single year. We're already burned out. So thank you.
Thank you. That's the conclusion of public comment of items not on the agenda. Is anybody else who had a card? So then we're going to move on to reports, and we're going to start with Santa Rosa Teachers Association President Ola King-Clay.
Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent, and board members. Madam President, I know at the beginning you took a moment of silence for Bobby Cross Soley. We also lost another SP person that I'd love to take another moment of silence. Thank you. This member is Chris Mendoza. She was a member of the Elsie Allen family, as well as the Montgomery High School family, and part of my family as well.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Life is such a positive adventure. You never know who you will touch as you travel up and down the road of life. We must remember, as educators, we touch the lives of many as we prepare our students for their future. SRTA is committed to working with the district and helping to bring the best and brightest educators to SRCS. We must retain and attract educators in all areas of education. As most of us know, October is a very festive month. Not only do we have Halloween, it's also the month to give honor to the Hispanic population of the United States. With this being said, we're looking forward to the DA's leadership and providing a strong structure to help us better equip our EL population. Working together as a team was the theme of our Cal Turns conference this past week. I must say it was a very enjoyable 2.5 days, and I developed a new respect for the admin, for my fellow teachers, for my negotiating Tani. We all had a great time of laughter, giggle, and understanding of how things work. The main focus was communication, communication, communication. Basic talking. Who would have guessed? In order for any company, team, or organization to be successful, they must be able to communicate with members and counterparts. Only we or us can make this happen. As my mom would say, Ola, you will catch more bees with honey than with vinegar, and vinegar is very sour. I like to say teamwork, priceless. As we all know, no one has the power to control time. It just ticks away, 1 second at a time. I understand that all schools will be getting a new communication system, synchronized clocks, and intercoms. We hope that this will include the safety measures that we have asked for the different sites. Window blinds, night cameras, night lights, also HVAC working, heater, air, all that great stuff. And in talking with Mr. Morehouse, he is on it, so that's good to hear. SRTA looks forward to working with our facility master plan. I understand you can go online and see it on the webpage. Is that correct? Yes, thank you. We are committed to working hand in hand to make this a better place to be. Okay, now for some special shouts. First, I would like to say thank you to Jan Fallon, thank you, who works at the DO. She's in charge of data and testing. She was also on that CalTurns trip, and let me tell you, the lady has a fantastic giggle, but also words of wisdom. She too is looking forward for a better connection with SRTA, as well as the classified, as well as the DO, as well as everyone. Very nice lady to be around. Second, you will definitely have to help me with his last name, principal at Pioneer High. Tim? Thank you. He is one I've heard from many of his teachers that he has a warm heart, very positive, strong leadership ability, and he's a strong supporter of his teachers, as well as the other people there as well. We have specialists. If you're not aware of those are the teachers, educators, who provides elementary campus people with, I should say, teachers with prep time. Their job is to give prep time to the classroom teachers each day. They are drama, physical ed, art, and music. This shout goes out to Ann Barone, who's a music educator at Still Lane and Brook Hill. I've heard the bands play. They are good. Thank you, Bev. And last but not least, members on the front line. This shout goes out to Heather Hagel of Ridgeway for her dedication to making life for her students as positive as possible. Not only is she the art teacher, she also does the yearbook, and she also helps prepare them for job interviews. It's nothing like working together as a team. Everybody from the custodian up to and including the admin. Teamwork is priceless. So with that, some words to think about. There was a lot of awards given out tonight. Love it. But for everybody, today and every day, treat yourself to the things that make you happy. Give yourself permission to be wrong. Applaud yourself for the smallest success. Forgive yourself for the greatest defeats. Appreciate yourself for the effort you have made, the good you have done, and the joy you have shared. Accept yourself for what you are, including everybody in this room, because you are you. Thank you.
Hola, hola,
Hola.
hola, hola.
Take a flower. Take a flower. Take a flower. One of them.
One.
So, you're welcome, thank you. Ola mentioned a CalTurn, and I want to echo how wonderful it was for CSEA, SRTA, and administration from the district office to be able to come together and talk about collaborative problem solving, because that's really what it's about. That's what we together learned about the unions and the district and labor and management, however you want to call it, coming together to collectively problem solve issues and situations going on in the district. So I look forward to the continued work in that area. The bag that we brought back, Ola and I brought back, is there for you. It's one of the CalTurn bags. Okay. First of all, I would like to congratulate. We have a national blue ribbon school in Santa Rosa City Schools. A huge congratulations to the Santa Rosa Accelerated Charter. I don't know if you have any other teachers here, but Anna and Steve Williams are here. So the Santa Rosa Accelerator Charter is one of only 29 schools in California recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. In total, there's only 279 schools that have been awarded throughout the U.S., and it's really about the hard work of the educators, their determination to provide 21st century learning to become college and career ready. So we are so proud of them. They'll be going to Washington, D.C. November 7th and 8th. They'll actually be in Washington, D.C. on the day of voting. Yeah, so we're very proud of them, and we give them much congratulations for this very, very honorable award. So thank you very much. It's an award kind of a night. So we just learned today that Santa Rosa City Schools will be recognized as a 2006 Golden Bell Award winner from the California School Board Association for our work on our Equity and Social Justice Initiative. So this award, again, SRTA and the district worked together and CSCA worked together to bring unconscious bias and Museum of Tolerance training. So there'll be a wonderful award ceremony at the CSBA conference in December in San Francisco. And so congratulations to all of us and all of you who worked hard on this initiative. And finally, like you guys know, I always end with a student. And so I want to thank Jacob Herbsman. He is the Puma Press co-editor. And he reached out to me to do an article about me that is currently just come out in the Puma Press. It was a delightful interview getting to know this young man. I can't wait to see him face to face because we could only do it by phone. And I must say, he quoted me well. The article is super well written, and so I want to thank Jacob for his wonderful interview of me and his article.
I'm going to give a report on the last TADCOM committee meeting that we had. The topic that we discussed was sick students and what is the policy, the protocol that we use to remove children with fevers or obviously really, really ill from the rest of the classroom. Of course, what we found is that different strokes for different folks, all got different kinds of things going on around the district. Oftentimes, depending upon what the facility can handle in terms of a room. And then we also talked about we talked about nursing shortage and how, of course, this impacts how we can treat our sick students as well. So I think that it was a good discussion. One that I think will lead to more discussion and more information that we gather as how each site handles this and really what the norm should be. With that, I'm going to move on to, we do not have board committee reports tonight because we had the Student of the Month. So now we're going to move on to CSBA, NSBA report. Frank?
We'll pass tonight.
Okay. So the next agenda item is our E, consent items.
Move items 1 through 6, E 1 through 6.
Second.
So that was moved by Director Christoph, seconded by Director Gonzalez. Roll call vote, please.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
President Jay?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
Thank you. Now we'll go on to our F, discussion action items. The first one is a discussion item, the local control implementation and preparation timeline for Santa Rosa City Schools. Dr. Guzman.
Good evening. President Jay, Superintendent Kitamura, members of the board. Tonight we're going to have a little LCAP update. Some of this will be a repeat, but there are some new and exciting things in the LCAP world. So what's new to the LCFF and LCAP is that we will have a new template again. There are new rubrics that are out. They are being refined, but later in the presentation I'll be showing you an example. And there is a greater emphasis of appropriate use of funds to those who generate them, and this, as you know, occurred for us as a district with the UPC letter that we got from the public advocates that we addressed at the last LCAP presentation. The funding has not changed. It's the same, the base that provides funding for all of our students, and then supplemental, the funding for additional services for foster youth, low income, and English learners. And then the concentration for those over the 55% of those who have a greater student percentage, like we do have in our elementary district. And these are just some reminders that I know that you're aware of, that the LCAP really is tended to provide more equitable funding. The investment is for those students who generate them. And lastly, that the base funding is for all, and that targeted students does not take away from that resource, that the base funding is for all students. As we did last year, we will have the school plan for student achievement aligned with our LCAP, this way that it provides coherence for our district. Each school site, except for our charters who actually have to create their own LCAPs, have a school plan where they work with their school site council, in which we gave back monies to each of the sites to be able to address the needs of their unduplicated student count. This also gives an opportunity for school sites to really have stakeholders give feedback through their SIPSA and then to our LCAP through their ELACs, their PTAs, their PTOs, as I said, their school site councils, obviously faculty meetings, and possibly surveys. By them, we also will have a district survey as we did last year. Each of the principals at all the sites will be creating their interim reports both in November and March, which they'll be presenting this information to these groups listed above, which also will again give opportunity for them not only to share collegially, but also with their different sites and getting feedback. Also with the eye on the new accountability, which we're going to talk about by looking at the LCAP rubrics. And it lists above, the reason why, the purpose for these new rubrics, really to support districts in identifying our strengths and weaknesses, and seeing if we're eligible for technical assistance, and then also seeing if there's more intensive state support intervention. The 8 LCAP areas is really the lens in which the rubrics will be looking through. Here's an example of the rubric, and as I said, it is in process. They're continuing to be evolved and refined over time. The state board actually just released these in September, so we'll see as we maneuver and move through this year, especially with assistance from our County Office of Education, how these will be implemented. But this is a nice example of what they're going to possibly look like. And obviously, the rubrics will be looking at our metrics, and I've just pulled some metrics from our LCAPs in both of our goals, so you can see sort of where some of our areas of where we're looking to grow. And you've heard board reports on some of the initiatives that we have in place to be able to support some of these metrics in both Goal 1 and in Goal 2. And as we do, we always leave some questions for considerations, but I based it on the LCAP support of the State Board of Education policy statements, and I'm actually going to read them. All students are provided with access and opportunities that support learning. All students are college and career ready, exhibiting early and continuing signs of college and career readiness, and all students graduate from high school. So we look forward to bringing back, as we did last year after the first interim, bringing back some principals to share sort of how that work is going and how they're being able to share that out to their stakeholders. Thank you.
Director Christoph.
Thank you, Anna, very much. My first observation is that as the state is modifying and going through this, there seems to be a recognition that site-based kind of improvement is very important. It seems like there was a shift from the last couple of years. I have a question about how we, get input from the sites. We have our traditional ways of doing this, and I think as we really get into it. I believe accountability is going to be greater than it ever has been in the past. That's my hope anyway. But does this preclude us from developing new groups and ways or organizations on site or within site to take a look at things? Are we going to be confined to certain kind of groups like PTAs or DLACs, or can each site develop its own way of looking and evaluating itself?
Of course, I think every site has the ability to be able to share this information. As we've said, the school plan of student achievement, their own alignment to the LCAP is a working document, and it'll change as the needs change through the school year. And not only will they have opportunities at their sites, but we also will have opportunities 3 times a year through the district advisory committee, and also in the spring with the SUN, the acronym is Stakeholders Unity Network, in which we can have also people from our community be able to weigh in on it. So, and I will pass out some additional information to the timeline in which school sites are giving some dates about when and how they are sharing their information.
Would it be appropriate use of funds or concentration in supplemental funds to help develop parent groups or additional groups within a school community to participate in this kind of an event?
Yeah, that's always a possibility, and I think, too, you're going to hear a little bit about in the next presentation around sort of the robust DLAC group that has been working with Director Flores, and I think there are some additional opportunities for parents that are coming through just sort of naturally.
Okay. I've also noticed that there are some major shifts in our demographics over the last couple of years. And when I looked at the numbers, I was quite surprised. I went through the stuff. It was very well done information, but the information tells me that we've got some changes afoot. We have metrics that we're going to be aiming at, but I guess the question is, what happens when the base itself starts to slide down, and we have certain numbers that we're projecting that we're going to meet? Do we consider that when we develop these metrics?
Well, of course, we've considered them, and I think as this has only been in place for the last 3 years, I think that...
I'm sorry, I don't know if I made myself clear. I think it wasn't clear. I believe if you have students coming in who are less equipped and prepared than, say, the year before or 4 or 5 years before, we're assuming that what comes in the door, what we have coming in, is at a constant. And so we're setting our metrics up to do this. Do we have a mechanism to take that into consideration, that we might in fact be having more English learners come in, or more students in poverty, or maybe the demographics are shifting so much that some of these goals have to be modified?
Well, it's just like the beauty of the LCAP is that each year they have to be written and relooked at, and so I think that's part of the conversation and also the data that we need to look at as we're creating our metrics for each year in the LCAP.
Okay, so it's not an absolute number, that's going to continue on. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
We are obligated by the statute to set metrics.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have to examine is, are the services in action doing what we say they're supposed to do in meeting those metrics?
Right.
They may or they may not. We have to be honest about that and take a look at it and acknowledge it, and potentially change services or change what it is we're doing.
Okay.
The other thing that I think is valuable in this new rubric, and it's the fight you're hearing about around using one assessment score versus using a method that has multiple measures, and really looking at growth, which I will say completely that I think growth is important. If a child comes in at a certain level and there's growth, to me that's saying something, not necessarily meeting this arbitrary band. Doesn't mean we shouldn't have the expectations, and you'll hear more about that in the Yale presentation. We should have this expectation, but I also think we need to take into consideration growth. With regard to the feedback from the sites, it was one of the things that came up at Caltern in meeting together with a group, because we talked about LCAP, and that the feeling, and I'm just going to be upfront about it, the feeling that the avenues for feedback were not clearly communicated at the sites. So people didn't have the opportunity to share like they wanted to share. So we have to look at that. We have to problem solve that. And one of the things we came up with was school site council training, the importance of the school site council and involvement from parents and teachers and students on that school site council, because it is a body that is looking at those dollars and where they should be allocated. I thought that was a wonderful problem solving that we came up with. We need to offer school site council training for those on the school site council, but anybody who wants to have that training to understand the mechanism that these funds are being earmarked for the local site. So I think that's what you were kind of talking about.
What I'm hoping, and I'm hearing it, is that we have the flexibility to deal with the student population that we have at each site, set goals. If there's something that doesn't work out, there's no punishment for that.
No.
And there's no absolute number that, under No Child Left Behind, that we have to climb to or we're a failure. So that's very encouraging. Thank you.
Well, and that's an excellent point, Christoph, because each of the sites developing their own individual site plans, you can see that there is a theme of which all the sites are looking at, primarily around literacy, both English language arts and mathematics, and then something around students in terms of engagement, so attendance. But how they're doing it is different at each site. And the metrics they're setting to determine what they believe is their goal is set by the site.
Larry?
I think Mr. Christoph has a really good point, and I'm glad he brought that up. And I think my follow-up question is, and I think I heard correctly, would the state recognize that? For example, let's just take an extreme example. You have a complete high-tech plants, companies move out of the area for some reason, and you lose a lot of students who are, say, come from professional families, highly educated families at one site, and you have an influx of, say, children who come from low income. Would the state recognize or would they still have a metric of judging you as you needed to improve the 5% of, say, this particular one of the goals that was listed up here? Or are they flexible in understanding the influx and outflux of students?
The goal is not to go back to No Child Left Behind. That is the goal. So you may have heard of the CCEE, California Collaborative Educational Excellence. They are like the thick mat of schools, except in the area of the LCAP. My understanding of it is that if you should, for example, not meet some of the metrics, they would help you in determining what services, what strategies, what things you might need to do to be able to adjust or implement to bring the metrics up. Or it could be something like, you know what, we might not have the right metric. So it's actually a very exciting time. Nothing is set in stone. And so we are working closely with the CCEE as well as AXA, which is the Administrators Association. Caltern is very much involved in this as well. And the work we're doing with Michael Fullens and Coherence. All of these things are tied together so that we are creating plans that are that meet the needs of the site, but yet still meet the needs of the district LCAP. So here's the goal. How you reach that goal individually as a site is up to you. But it isn't an idea that if you don't meet your goal, that you're going to be in trouble. What we're going to do is we're going to provide support and services, maybe adjust things in order to meet that goal.
Thank you.
Frank?
On slide 7, which is the rubric example,
Yes.
I would like to maybe request that we can have a training session on what that means. I've seen this all over the state. I got a bit of an idea. It's a little complex. You got lots of color happening there. It would be good to know what it all means. And so for training purposes, for staff development for the board, would be helpful.
As soon as we get that training, we will train the board.
Yeah, I was going to say, we will learn with each other as we maneuver through this next process.
Right. And then on slide 8, you talk about the metrics and the percentages that have been established or will be. At some point, it would be good to know, how do we know what to pick as far as a percentage, and what does it actually mean to to the district? What, I would assume a larger percentage means you're making a larger investment because but how do you know what to do? That's the question.
Well, yeah, that's an excellent question. I think, honestly, in building the metrics, we asked what other people were doing. How are you determining, based on your population and the goals that you have, what is a little bit of a stretch in terms of percentage? Because we have to stretch, we have to grow. And so we really based it on calibrating with other districts and other county offices.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Laura? Jen? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to F2, which is English Learner Program and Latino Update. Dr. Guzman.
Good evening again. I'm just going to get this up.
Oh, I have a speaker card. I thought I have 3 speaker cards. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the presentation, then we'll turn it over to the speakers.
Good evening again, President Jay, Superintendent Kitamura, members of the board. Tonight you are going to hear an English learner and Latino update. Next to me I have Director Flores from Curriculum Instruction and Coordinator Sarah Crank from State and Federal Programs who will be presenting tonight. I'm going to get her mic. Hold on.
Good evening, everyone. So recently, I attended a Lo Cien presentation and saw it's close there. But at that presentation, Judy Sakaki, Dr. Judy Sakaki from Sonoma State shared that we need to lift as we climb, and I think about that in terms of our ELs, that we rise by lifting others, and we need to make sure that we are aware and cognizant of the needs of our ELs and making sure that we're doing everything possible to support them appropriately. Diane shared at Lo Cien that the future of education is based on collaboration and problem solving. And we as a district, like Ola said, and Diane Kitamura said, need to collaborate and problem solve in order to create a better education, in order to create better educational outcomes for our EL students. Because in Santa Rosa City Schools, like in a lot of other California districts, our ELs are not faring well. There is an achievement gap, and I'm going to be sharing that with you this evening. So I just want us to keep thinking and considering how we are lifting our EL students. So the purpose of tonight is to review the federal program monitoring process, to review current data, to review the interim reclassification criteria and process, to review how we are supporting our supporting our language learner counselors, our SOL counselors, how they're being supportive of of ELs at different sites. We're going to review the parent capacity building that we're doing as a district and the work that we've done with the EL master plan.
Hi, so tonight I'm going to be speaking about the federal program monitoring that is occurring. That's through the California Department of Education. They will be looking at quite a few things, but in some of what I wanted to speak about were specific to the English learners. They are going to collect thousands of documents from us. It's an online review this year, so they want to actually be walking through the schools. They will be collecting documentation so that we can show them we are under compliance. These documents will be required from the district, and 2 specific schools that they will be looking at will be Brook Hill Elementary and James Monroe Elementary. The document collection has already begun, and it will continue through January 27th. The CDE document upload is specifically through February 27th through March 3rd, but they are going to be looking and concerning with EL students that they have access to the core subject matter. They will also be looking at an evaluation of our English learner program effectiveness and the English learner identification and assessment. How do we assess them? How do we figure out who is an EL? They're going to want documentation showing that we're doing that correctly. Then they will also be looking at the professional development specific for our English learners. What are our teachers going through in order to serve them best? And they will also be looking at reclassification and how do we do that. So Director Flores will show us in this update some of the ways we're working on that.
So I want to read to you the U.S. Department of Justice and U.S. Department of Education objectives for English learners, because I think they're very important that we understand those as a group. The first is that EL students will learn English quickly enough and fluently enough to participate in academic work through integrated and designated English language development, or ELD. So we really need to focus on how we're doing that at all of our sites, because we need to ensure that our students are getting both the integrated and designated ELD. The second bullet, ELs will learn grade-level mathematics, reading, language arts, social studies, and science according to the California standards. And the third is ELs will have equal opportunity to participate in all programs. So I just want to emphasize that the fact sheet from OCR and the Department of Education doesn't say that we should provide equal access and opportunities and grade-level materials or curriculum to reclassified English learners or initial fluent English learners. They're saying we need to provide that access for English learners. So I want to make that distinction because I want to make sure that as a district that we are not prohibiting students access to any of those core classes or A through G classes or any of the classes based on their EL status. So looking at Santa Rosa's demographics, Director Christoph mentioned the changing demographics, and it absolutely is changing in Santa Rosa City Schools. The 16,717 represents the number of students in our district last year. 8,426 of those students were Latino descent. So 50.4% of our Santa Rosa City School population is Latino. So we really need to make sure that we are looking at that subgroup. Of course, not all Latinos are English learners. So this is a breakdown of our students by language proficiency. So you'll notice that 55.18% of our elementary students have another language besides English spoken in the home. So the way I got that figure was looking at our IFEPs, English learners, and RFEPs, because in order for them to be considered English learners or initial fluent English proficient or reclassified fluent English proficient, on the home language survey, the parents had to indicate that there was a language other than English spoken in the home. Okay. And at the secondary level, 41.87% of our students have a language other than English spoken at home. Although Spanish is the most common language other than English spoken in many of the homes of our students, other languages, of course, are also spoken. Vietnamese is the second leading language after Spanish in Santa Rosa City Schools. So approximately 25%, approximately 25% of our total Latino population are ELs. So now we're going to the state requirements for reclassification. So the first criteria is that the students need to score overall 4 or 5 on the CELT. And initially we had been told that this was going to be the last year of CELT, and just learned today that we're going to be administering the CELT one more year. So the reclassification criteria that we use is interim because it's constantly changing. And so we will be using the CELT overall scores for this year and next year still, but just as an FYI, we will be field testing the LPAC, which is the new language assessment that California will be using for language proficiency. So it stands for English Language Proficiency Assessment of California. So the LPAC will be field tested in the spring and in the fall, and no scores will be reported, but we'll be trying it out and providing feedback. But next year, we will continue to use the CELT, which is new. We were under the impression that this would be the last year of CELT, and in fact, it will not be. The second criteria is academic performance. So we use multiple measures, which I'm happy to say that there are multiple measures that we are considering for the academic performance. We are using the SBAC, the DRA, Let's Go Learn, and CASE. This will be the last year that we're able to use CASE, but fortunately, we can still use SBAC, the Diagnostic Reading Assessment, or Developmental Reading Assessment, and the Let's Go Learn as another academic performance measure. The third criteria is parent consent. Oh, and we also look at grades. We want to make sure that students are able to access the curriculum. I want to make this a point because sometimes our students will get D's and F's on the report card, and so we are asking every site to create language assessment teams because we want to make sure that that we are not using, if the grade is based on poor attendance or bad attitude or lack of completing homework, if it's based on that, that should not be an obstacle for reclassification because this is a reclassification based on language proficiency. So we do have a language team that if the student has met every criteria but the grades, we are asking that the language team assess why those grades are those grades, what caused the grades to be low. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so this is the measure that we use for SBAC. So this is the scale scores that we use, and so I think it's important for you to see this. What we're using for the SBAC score for reclassification is the midpoint between standard nearly met and standard met. So we're taking the midpoint as the cutoff. So they have to score midpoint or greater to be considered for reclassification when we're using the SBAC data. It's important for you to understand this scale because we're going to be looking at this scale in the other graphs, and the colors will represent the same indicator here. And that will be important to note as we look at the achievement gaps that are happening here. So this next assessment, or this next graph, is the elementary English language arts literacy graph. So the blue dashed or dotted line is the scale score, the mean scale score for ELs. So you can see that for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, that they are not met. And the black dashed line is for the entire district. So you can see clearly that there's an achievement gap here between our ELs and our other students. And this is how we're faring in math for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grades. So and I just want to point out that the fact that we don't administer this SBAC score, the SBAC test in first and second is why it's important to have multiple measures. And that's why we're using the developmental reading assessment for those kids that are demonstrating that they are ready to be reclassified. But we do test with the SBAC in third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and 11th grade. So next you will see our results for our 7th, 8th, and 11th grades. Again, we don't test with the SBAC in 9th, 10th, or 12th grade. And I want to make this point that because we don't test in 9th, 10th, and 12th grade, it's critical that we have another measure. So Let's Go Learn is that other measure that we will be using to measure if students are ready to be reclassified. Because what happens is if we are using the 8th grade test results in 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade, it's already old data. And students have made, we hope, lots of gains in those years. And so we need to have a measure that we can, or another assessment so that we can gauge if students are proficient and ready to be accelerated or reclassified.
Can I ask a question about the graph so I can understand?
Sure.
So we see the difference of the blue line, which are English language learners.
Yes.
And the black line, which are not English language learners. So we see a difference there of, say 2438 and 2498. What does that mean as far as grade level goes? I just see numbers. How do I translate that? It doesn't seem like a big gap because it's only, it's represented just by this much, but yet I would expect it to be a bigger gap.
Yeah, let's go back to the bars because I think that's important to help understand the graphs. So it's not by grade level. Every grade level has a criteria to meet. And so at 7th grade, for example, if they do not do well, if they score in the 2,200 or less range, then they have not met that standard. If they are yellow, that means that they nearly met the standard for that grade level. And if they're green, they've met the standard. And blue exceeded the standard.
So you have basically the English language learner not meeting the standards.
Exactly.
Because it's right there, and then you have nearly met. Okay, thank you. Sorry for that.
No, it's important that we all understand that. Thank you. Okay, so this is the math graph for secondary, and again, very clearly there's an achievement gap. So now we're going to the reclassification rates, and I want to point out that this is only demonstrating the reclassification rates for 2015, 2016. And the reason for that is, again, the criteria has changed annually. So it didn't seem fair to compare last year's data to the years before when it was completely different criteria. So, and I was thinking that next year we probably wouldn't be able to use the same, we would be doing the same kind of graph because we were going to be using the LPAC. But now I learned that we're going to be using the SELT for another year. So next year you should be able to see 2 bar graphs to indicate the difference from last year to this year. And, and I just want to point out again that as a district, we have not met our AMAOs. And so those are the annual measurable achievement objectives. And so the first AMAO is that we want students to improve a SELT level 1 band per year. And we have not met that as a district. AMAO 2A is that students are proficient in less than 5 years. We have not met that AMAO. The 2B is that students are proficient in 5 years or more, that they just get there, and we haven't met that AMAO as well. So it is a great concern that that we're not reclassifying more students, that we are not, that SELT levels are not improving. So that is something that we need to investigate and create some better systems for that.
Could we stop for a second? Jen, did you have a question, specific question?
Yeah, I just have a quick question about the data as it's presented. On the graphs where there are the blue lines and the black lines, and it says mean scale score district, that is the entire district, which includes the English learners. So it's not showing the difference between the mean scale of the English learners and the mean scale of the not English learners. It's showing English learners compared to the district, which includes the English learners? Or is it mean scale district minus the English learners?
Without 100% certainty. I think you're describing it correctly. The chart, you recognize it from when I presented earlier. It's the same basic chart with the floating scale scores and the dashed lines. So yes, I can't be 100% certain, and we went through these, I don't know how many times to make sure we had it right, but if it is just all students on the black line, it's underrepresenting the discrepancy between it's underrepresenting the achievement
Right,
gap.
that's what I'm at, because that's a question I realized I didn't ask before, because it does say score district, so that would wrap in those scores and would definitely way underrepresented achievement gap.
So we'll go back and look at that, and, because I think that's a very excellent question to ask.
And this is just a comment about the data, not a question, but along the similar lines, I feel like it's helpful when comparing our data to the county is actually to also have a graph that's the county minus us. We're such a large part of the county that our numbers actually skew the data. So so that comparison is not, we're not comparing ourselves to the rest of the county, we're comparing ourselves to the county including us, which is a big deal.
We don't actually have, in any of the measures, any of the tools that we have access to don't remove us from that comparison.
But we should be able to do that.
We can't do that because we don't have access to all the county data. We'd actually have to hold all the data in order to do the math ourselves.
That's not on DataQuest?
No, you can't say the county minus our district.
You can.
I haven't seen it.
Well, you might be able, I mean, I'm not a math whiz, but you might be able to take the county data and our data and minus it.
You can't, no, it's not that, yeah.
For later. Yeah, not sure. It's good questions. Okay, so here is some county data. So this is the graduation rates for Santa Rosa City Schools in comparison to the county. The blue is 09-10, and the green is 14-15. So it's 5 years between the two. But so on the left-hand side, you can see Santa Rosa City Schools graduation rates and the counties. So the colors represent the years.
So blue is Latino and green is white.
Yeah.
And it's,
Not on this one. This one is just county. The next one will be by,
this is Santa Rosa City Schools.
Everyone else.
this is just Santa Rosa City Schools year and county. So if you look at the first Santa Rosa City Schools, blue, it's 09-10, right?
No, 2009 is the blue-green.
Yes.
On the left. Latino versus white.
Okay.
Then on the right is
Thank
2014-15, Latino and white.
Thank you.
Not English learners, it's Latino. Okay.
And that's a good distinction, too, because the next slide is also not representative of ELs. It's Latinos and whites, Sonoma County whites and Sonoma County Latinos. And again, this includes ELs and non-ELs. This next slide is the college and career readiness. It's an early assessment program. It's a CSU success indicator that's embedded into the SBAC assessment that's given in 11th grade. So our 11th grade or juniors take this test, and these are the results for each of the subgroups. Our white students in English language arts, our Hispanic, Latino students in English language arts, and then our white students in math and our Latino students in math. The red is not ready, the green conditional ready, and the blue is ready.
Right.
Yes, so again, the achievement gap is evident. So this year, we have the privilege of being able to, through our LCAP, hire for bilingual counselors. We're calling them the SOL counselors because they are supporting our language learners. And their purpose is to really identify the needs of specifically long-term ELs and look to see what are the obstacles of getting in the way of their reclassification. So really doing some analyzing of their files, getting to know them, creating systems to support them to reclassify more of our long-term EL students. So they are supporting students at the middle schools and high schools. So they are not assigned to sites, but rather they're assigned to long-term EL students. So some of these counselors have more than 2 sites, and others only have 2 sites. So it's not based on schools that they're supporting, but again, rather their long-term EL numbers of students that they're case managing. The other thing that we are doing to support our ELs and our Latino families is we last year trained our family engagement facilitators, all of them. 100% of them were trained in the Abriendo Puertas curriculum that we purchased for them, and it's a parent empowerment training. So it's completely done in Spanish. So the way this program is designed is that you want parents training other parents. But in order to grow this program and to support larger number of families, what we decided to do was to train all of our family engagement facilitators to then be trainers of the parents so that we could then find the leaders in that parent group to then take it on for that school site. So really just building capacity with our parents. But our family engagement facilitators are taking that on. They're working in trios to work with their feeder schools and really support one another to just get parents more involved, give them the tools to feel empowered, to ask questions, to advocate, to be a part of their students' education. We are also, as you probably know, we are also in the process of revising our EL master plan. We have an EL master plan task force that has been meeting since April of last year. And we have a meeting tomorrow night if you'd like to join us. Otherwise, the next one is in November. But the last revision to the EL master plan was in June 9th of 2010, so it's very outdated, and our needs are much more significant, I think, and so we are really diving into this work, doing a lot of analysis of our student data, of our belief system, very deep work. Really incredibly excited to be working with that task force. It's a great, great group. Great questions, great conversation, great passion. Really excited about the revisions that will be made to this plan. The plan, again, is the goal of this plan is to create a cohesive plan for our ELs so that it's not left to guesswork, that there's a clear path for what supports we offer students that have different needs. There's great concern about the fact that so many of our students are not being provided access to classes, and parents are extremely concerned. Students are concerned. It's important work, and we're just really excited about making sure that we are doing right by all of our students. So we are creating a roadmap for school and district personnel to implement optimal and legal programs for English learners. That's what our work is. And again, you are invited to either tomorrow night or November 17th. If tomorrow night's too short of notice, you're welcome to join us from 5 to 8:30.
Larry?
Thank you so much for that report and all the depth.
Oh,
of
wait.
it. You have speaker cards,
I have speaker cards.
right? Okay.
Speakers: Lynn Hayer, Allison Duke, and Rafael Solano.
Good evening to everybody and to the board members. When I came in, I saw your flyer about each of you, and noticed that all of you specialize in effective teaching practices, closing the achievement gap, student support, language minority students, and developing powerful inquiry-based curriculum building. So, I'm here to speak to you tonight about what they just talked about and how it looks in the classroom. When I came here from the East Bay, where I taught sheltered history, German, and ELD. I came to Cook Middle School 22 years ago when I married Mr. Heyer, and have been teaching sheltered classes at Cook Middle School in social studies, moved to Montgomery High School where I continued to teach sheltered classes to students, and then 4 years ago, no sheltered classes were available for social science. This year, when I came back from the classes we had with the computers and so on at Santa Rosa High School and started school, I found one of my classes consists of 2 rosters. One roster of native speakers, reg class, which at Montgomery means non-academic, non-P requirement, but native speaker students, sometimes with behavior problems, and many of which have IEPs, stapled to a roster of English language learners, levels 1 through 3. My levels 1 and 2 speak non-intelligible English or no English. I have a roster here. I'm going to make this available to the board if you request it. It is confidential information, so I cannot make it public at this point. In this class, I have 30 students. 33%, or 10, have an IEP for special ed services and modified instruction plans, which is quite a lot for a core content history class, 11th grade U.S. history. 25%, or 9 students, are English language learners, most of whom are level 1 or 2, and 12 students are regular English-speaking students who do not have an IEP. I was very perplexed because up until this point, when I taught sheltered, it was levels 3 and 4, and it was specifically designated for sheltered students only, no reg students. So I pulled up the plans of each of the 9 students and found 4 of them had just arrived and had no CELT plan. 3 of them had a CELT level 2 or 3, but were enrolled in English 2 or Intensive Lab 2. And one of them was English level 4. When I brought this to the attention of my administrators, I think my time is up. When I brought this to my attention of my English, my administration, I'm watching the clock. My time is out. Can I ask for...
Just finish your thought. Just
Thank
finish
you.
your sentence.
Okay, we talked to the administrators. Nothing could be done. We talked to the district. They brought a 4-page U.S. Department of Justice and U.S. Department of Education pamphlet about how we have to not segregate. But I went online and found a 40-page document explaining this, saying that it is perfectly okay to create sheltered classes for English language learners, but to incorporate them in music and art and PE and not segregate. I just would like to know also why Montgomery is the only school that does not have sheltered classes for these kids when all the other high schools in Santa Rosa do. I just want to make sure that this logo, which used to be up on the district website, shows that equality does not mean equity. We're asking for these 3 little apple carts so the kids can stand up and close the achievement gap, because with a class full of half non-speakers and half native speakers, it is very difficult to help them to proceed.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to have to stop you now. Thank
Thanks.
you. Next up is Allison Duke.
Hi, I'm Allison Duke from Montgomery High School. I really don't have time to tell you why I'm qualified to talk about this, but I have a lot of experience in sheltered instruction, a lot of training, and I know how to modify and differentiate the curriculum. I'm here to advocate for my students, and I believe that putting the 2 classes together, if this is the direction that the district wants to go in for ELs, is wrong. Sheltered biology and academic biology need to be taught separately, not in the same room, same period, same teacher. The value I'm connecting this to is net benefit for student learning, and I'd like to say that access should not be defined as letting the student into the class. Access should be defined as the student can participate because they understand the language and what's going on. My first contention, students with low academic English proficiency should be given sheltered instruction that's at their comprehensible language level +1. That's based on what I was taught in training, based on research and my experience, and the benefit to student learning is it helps the students learn English and they don't fall behind on their content area learning. Second, sheltered instruction requires modified lecture, reading, and writing. It is not equal to simply helping the students more. And translation does not equal using comprehensible input +1, again, based on research, training, and experience. Third, the academic students in one period are entitled to the same education that they would get if they were in another period that did not have the sheltered students in it. Academic students need a comprehensible level +1 of their own that is much higher than that of the sheltered students, particularly when the sheltered students are at CELT level 1 and 2 as they are in my combination class. This is based on harms that I've observed directly in my experience in the past 2 months in the classroom. So fourth, direct instruction cannot be given simultaneously at 2 different language levels. I'm not a magical flying unicorn. And the stress of trying to do a job that I care about deeply, that I find is impossible to do, that I think and have said is unethical, is incredible. Talk about retaining teachers. I'm ready to leave my profession after 26 years much earlier than I had planned to if I'm to be forced to do something that I have said is unethical. So no effort has been made to convince me that I'm wrong and my training is too old. I'm saying that this is unethical, it's not working in my classroom, and with all my skills and experience, I'm not happy with the level of success I'm able to achieve with my best efforts. I'd like to see the research in the literature that says that this is appropriate to do, to put the 2 classes together. I'd like to see the test scores that say that both groups will advance appropriately. And I'd like to see the training in being a magical flying unicorn where you can give 2 different levels of comprehensible input to 2 different groups at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. Rafael Solano, followed by Yolanda Delgado.
Good evening.
Mi nombre es Rafael Solano.
His name is, this is Rafael Solano I'm here with.
Yo llevo varios años participando en las reuniones del comité de DILAC.
For a number of years, he's been participating in the DLAC meetings.
Quiero hacerles saber mi descontento acerca del plan maestro para aprendices de inglés.
He would like to address before you, with you, his unhappiness with the current status of the English Learner Master Plan.
Está tomando demasiado tiempo para completarlo.
It's taking too long to finish it.
A este paso que vamos, para cuando nuestros estudiantes que ya están en el 7º grado,
So at this point where we're going along with students who are already in, say, 7th grade, for instance,
posiblemente se graduarán de la preparatoria sin haber sido reclasificados.
they may end up graduating from high school without ever having been reclassified.
Me gustaría que por favor ustedes hagan lo que ustedes tengan que hacer
I would like for you to do whatever you have to do
para mejorar los números de los aprendices de inglés,
to improve the numbers of English learners, of current English learners,
ya que parte del futuro depende de ellos.
because really, and ultimately, the future depends on them.
Gracias.
Thank you.
The last speaker card I have is Yolanda Delgado.
Good evening, everybody, and I'm improvising here. After hearing what I've heard today, I just have to speak up. I am a teacher for the junior college. I teach English as a second language. My husband also teaches for college skills. He's a GED teacher. We are the proud parents of 2 children who attend the French American charter school. here in Santa Rosa. For the past 4 years, since my children began the French American, we've been struggling with the system because apparently the principals, sometimes they don't know exactly what ELAC means. This time we are beginning again from scratch because we have a new principal who apparently just found, yeah, there is some money. So now he's putting back the 2 positions for teacher assistants in the classroom. By now, many people have their jobs, and it's hard to fill in. So many of the issues that have already been talked about here, you know, it's a problem for the English learners. The positions that are offered, they do not pay much for the assistants. So with this great economy, not many people want to come in, you know, and get these positions. The other, it's kind of scary because all what I'm hearing is for the future of the children. You know, my kid, one of my kids, it's already in 5th grade, and she's not able to exit the program. That may mean that she may not be available or ready for the academic classes. I can hear what the teachers have to say, being a teacher myself. I've seen that some of the monies are spent in things different than what they are earmarked for. The money is being allocated in other places, and by the time we, the parents, know, or the community, I think, knows, it's too late. So I really think that, yeah, there needs to be some checkpoints, you know, so that, by this I mean the LCAP, how do you say, budget that was put into place in April. We talked about one more time, and it still went on, you know, the last principal still put it in, even though we, in ELAC, we definitely don't agree to it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to the board. And Larry, you were speaking.
I'd like to
Laura,
thank all
and
the
Ron.
speakers for coming forward. I'm going to also have a few questions about that. Thank you again for that extensive report. And one of the couple of things that just stood out with me is, number one, I really appreciate the idea that someone is going to be reclassified on their scores, not on their attitude or their behavior, because that's really important. And hopefully that can prevail. Not their grades if it's due to lack of attendance or lack of whatever the reason is for not getting the subject matter or not getting that particular grade. Secondly, I think the task force sounds very exciting, what you're doing, and I'm glad to see that intense, engaged conversation take place. Now I'd like to address the speakers. So I'm just going to take Lynn Heyer's example. So what I understand, she has a class, well, I guess my question is, she has a class of 3s and 4s, but quite a few 1s and 2s, along with a regular English, regular social studies class, which is non-academic, understood. So I thought just the 3s and 4s were coming out of shelter. Is that what I heard, or is that not the case? Are the 1s and 2s being mixed?
I'm sorry, we just can't engage this back and forth, so you're going to have to ask
No, well, I'm
questions
not
of staff.
asking Lynn.
I
I'm
know, but
asking
Lynn is feeling like she
no,
wants
I'm
to
asking,
engage. Okay, fine.
I'm not asking Lynn. I'm asking the panel. Is that the case? that the ones in, I thought I heard just 3s and 4s go into the academic classes. Is that an out of the shelter?
I'm not really sure. That's going to take some more research, because really what sheltered means is that you're providing sheltered strategies. So in most of the classes that I'm aware of that are sheltered throughout the state are sheltered because you're providing different strategies for access to the curriculum, but you still have English learners in the regular classes and the A through G classes and any of the classes. But when it's considered sheltered, it's because you're providing sheltered strategies for helping them to access. But you still have the expectation of the academic standards.
Correct, but you have ones and, I've taught sheltered before, and I remember they were 1s and 2s, and they were English language learners, and the strategies were to get them to an English class to basically advance to meet the standards. And my understanding was, from what I heard, was that 3s and 4s are moved into and that we tried to get them out. 3s and 4s are moved into the regular curriculum, 1s and 2s weren't.
So I just want to give a comparison, okay? So I think it's important to understand that when a student is an English learner, they're learning the language. It does not mean that they cannot learn content alongside the language.
Of course.
If that were the case, we wouldn't have a French-American school in our district. We wouldn't have a Spanish immersion school in our district, because we don't hold any of the English-dominant students back and say, we're not teaching you social studies and science and math and Spanish until you learn Spanish.
Correct.
So if we were to give them a Spanish test, they would probably be a Spanish 1 on the CELT. Too, but we still teach them content and language at the same time, because we know that the brain is capable of that. And so that's when you have sheltered classes, it's because you are providing strategies, just like in the immersion schools, you're providing strategies for them to access the curriculum alongside the language. I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, understood.
I'm debating whether to wait until all the comments are before I make a comment. So since Araceli, you responded to that, I think I'll wait and let the board members go ahead and ask their questions.
That ends my,
So the next speakers are Laura and then Ron.
Thanks for the report. I have a few questions here, and I wrote them in the notes, and I'm not liking this. I wish I had done it on paper. So one question I have is that I remember we've been talking about a master plan since about 2012. So I'm confused as to why this is taking so long. I would have expected we would have had a master plan in place by now, because I remember talking about this with Iris Ochoa back then.
So we had a change in staff.
Okay.
So there was a gap when we changed staff.
All right, well, that's still 4 years. That's a long time.
It is, it is.
So some of my questions are, well, actually, after listening to Mrs. Heyer there, I have questions, and I know our president doesn't want us to go back and forth, but I'm curious. Of course, we teach content to English language learners, but as a teacher, I can't imagine being in a class with CELT 1s and 2s. And half of the class being regular English speakers or native English speakers. So is she taking care of all of these students' needs by herself? Is somebody else in there with her?
There's an instructional assistant in our classes, yes. We hired and I can't speak, to be honest, I can't speak for every school in the district because I don't know yet. I have to do some research on that. But I know that at this school, we have hired a bilingual instructional assistant to support.
Okay. Are all of the English language learners in her class Spanish speaking?
No, we'd have to do some research on that.
She says no. So there's other languages in there besides Spanish. And I don't know if she knows the CELT and we can't talk, but in the bilingual aid, is this a trained person? I mean, are they just brand new, hired? I mean, do they have training in how to deliver content to students?
I honestly can't answer that. I've never met the woman or
Okay.
sir, I don't know who it is, to be
All right.
honest.
And then, of course, there's however many non-Spanish speaking people are in that group as well, which creates a whole nother dynamic, I think, as well. And are there, so because she spoke, I'm just going off what she said. Are there resources in Spanish? Do they have the history book in Spanish, or how is that being dealt with?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay. So I can't imagine, actually, from what I've just heard, being in this class and teaching it with CELTS 1 and 2 and being expected to deliver them content, and they may or may not have resources, they may or may not have books. That's problematic to me, and it's troubling to me. And I don't know if this is going on in other classes, in other schools. It doesn't seem, I'm not feeling very confident about this right now. I also, I'm curious, I would like to know how are they doing grade-wise in terms of grades? I would have been interested to see it. The quarter ends Friday, right? I would be interested in hearing back how these students are faring grade-wise. What type of grades are they earning? How did they do last year in these classes? Because they were in a similar situation. Is that correct? Last year?
I'd like to, Laura, I'm not trying to prevent people from talking, but in order to have a presentation and have questions that actually can have answers to them, the staff has to be prepared. I'm sorry, but they're not familiar with Lynn's situation. So could we direct the questions from the board to the presentation? Because time and time again, Araceli is telling us she doesn't know. So I'm going to go with, it's Araceli's presentation. Lynn, we thank you for your comments and your contributions, but this is the only way we're going to move the meeting forward.
Well, it's just that I'm finding that there's things missing from this presentation.
Then I would suggest that you say, this is the information I would like back. And we
Okay,
can do a
so
follow-up.
that's information I would like back. I'd also have a question as, so the charts that we saw about the achievement gap, I'm not really clear on why we would expect English language learners at low CELT levels to meet standards.
Those were Latino students, they weren't ELs. in
No,
those
it
bands.
says EL on there, right?
On the
No, the Latino students.
Latino. They're not
So-
EL.
Which slide, which number?
I'm not
Yeah.
there.
So while Director Gonzalez is looking at that, we are actually meeting with Montgomery tomorrow, the district office staff, to problem solve, because we hear what is being said. And I too have a long history with ELD course development students who are English learners. And there's things that are going on, truthfully, that don't make sense to me. And so we have to get to the bottom of it tomorrow at a meeting. And I will say, right in here, right now, and I could suffer from this at some point, but I'm going to say it because that's just the way I am. 1s and 2s should not be double rostered with kids who are not. Okay, but I think it's for different reasons. I don't want to misunderstand what's going on here. I think that we have mislabeled the use of the word shelter. We are not using the appropriate term when we're talking about supporting ELs in the academic content and core. That is why our EL master plan is so critically important, because we do not have a comprehensive program for our EL students that will meet their needs, okay? Period, bottom line. We need the input into the EL master plan so we can develop the ongoing program for our EL students that has high expectations and allows them content to the Common Core standards so that they can have outcomes that allow them the choice to go to college or to career, whatever that may be. So I would ask this board to hold on a second. Let us have this meeting tomorrow with Montgomery. Let us continue to work on the EL master plan. Once we meet with Montgomery and we can problem solve this together, then we will come back and let you know what the outcomes of that will be. So that's what I would ask, and I don't know if the team has anything else to say about that.
Well, I'd just like to add, Dr. or Director Gonzalez asked why we would have the same expectations of our ELs as our regular population. We absolutely must have the same expectations for our ELs as our regular or any other students. The fact that we don't is why we're in the predicament that we're in. We must have high expectations for all of our students, regardless of their language.
And we must have the appropriate programs.
And serve it and support.
And serve them and serve the students in a way that, as you said, we lift as we climb. We want our students who are English speaking to rise. We want our EL students to rise. What does that program look like? And guess what? We're going to problem solve this together. Okay? So I want the board to understand that this is a huge opportunity.
It is.
For us to change the direction for our EL Latino English learner students right here. And this has been a difficult topic, and I think the idea about the long time in the EL master plan, I will tell you what my thinking around that is, and again, I'll probably get myself in trouble, but it's a difficult subject to tackle. It's a difficult subject to tackle without emotions and feelings and things like that. But guess what? We're human beings, and emotions and feelings are okay. And if we can acknowledge the fact that we have to address this, then we've climbed our way up the battle a little bit, okay? I appreciate the board asking the questions that they're asking and bringing up the ideas and thinking. I appreciate the teachers coming in and speaking the way they're speaking. I appreciate Ms. Patch Kennedy emailing me to ask to invoke what's in the contract, to have a meeting tomorrow to discuss this. That's democracy, folks. That's what we're here about. And so I hope that the board will continue to ask the questions, it's okay, to continue to work with our staff to continue to not give up, to continue to work towards this, because it's where we need to go. And Ken, I'll stop.
So, go ahead, Laura.
I'm not through. So I can understand, we have to have high standards, yes. But there's high standards and then there's, reality. I would not expect a CELT 1 or 2 to score met or exceeded standards. I just wouldn't. And if they did, I would be very surprised. And that doesn't mean I have low standards for them. I just wouldn't expect that to happen. I wouldn't expect any of the English-speaking students at Cesar Chavez School to take a test in Spanish from a Spanish-speaking country and hit exceed or meet grade level if they had something similar. So I guess I'm still not clear on why we would expect English language learners, especially those who are CELT 1, 2, 3, to meet or exceed the standards. And I don't know that that's fair to say that that's part of the achievement gap. That's part of a language gap. And it takes, 5 years? I mean, there's English language acquisition, and then there's academic language, which is a whole nother thing. And so, anyway, I would disagree, I politely disagree that I would expect kids who have CELT 1 and 2s to meet or exceed the standard. That would surprise me if they did, that's all I'm saying.
Ron?
Thank you for the report. I've got to start by saying that I'm going to digress a little bit. I was first hired in the district in the 70s. I was right out of college, 23, and I went to the experimental school, Comstock. And we had open classrooms, non-track classes. We had teen teaching, all this wild stuff that never existed in Santa Rosa before. The open classrooms and all that stuff. And it was a good experience. And we were able to take kids that were 2 or 3 or 4 grades level below, because in my 9th grade academic English class, we had 3 aides, we had a reading specialist, and there were only like 4 kids or 5 kids. And so for me, it was, it was workable. We had unlimited resources in terms of materials. We differentiated the curriculum, even back then, if you can imagine something like that. Move forward to the 90s at Piner. We did the Ted Sizer model, okay? And we broke up into communities, and And I'm going to get to the point. Sizer's book, Horace's Compromise, was a good book. It was very interesting. There were a lot of things going on that still make sense there, a lot of things that we learned in the 70s that still made sense, and we're doing again, and it's coming back in a different form. But the one question that was asked of Theodore Sizer when he was in an interview one time was, what do you do with the kids that are substantially below grade level in their progress, or kids that don't speak English? And his answer, out of being, you know, a Harvard professor and doing all this research, was quickly remediate. And so this is the nut that we've never cracked. This is a nut that we're looking at now. I don't fault anybody. Araceli, you're doing a very good job. We need to put this master plan together because we have 3,000 plus students now that are ELs. This is a reality in our district. So we need to do a very, very good job on that. I have a bunch of stuff I've done here, research, and I looked into the Ed Trust, and I met with an ESL retired teacher that teaches at the JC for 2 hours today. And so I'm getting a lot of information on this. I won't be able to attend your meeting tomorrow. I've got other plans, but I will be there in November. And I want to get the best input we possibly can. Are people from the outside invited to come and join you?
Yes.
Okay, and we as board members and others.
It's an open meeting, so just to be clear, it's an open meeting, but only the task force is involved in the actual creation of the revision, and of course, only.
But our input would be welcome?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I think what needs to drive this, because we have kids that not only just don't speak English, but they have other issues as well. We've got kids that are scattered through the district, kids that are clumped in certain places, 26 schools, a lot of different issues at each of those sites. So how do we deliver the best program we can? And I think for me, what I'm going to focus on and emphasize all through this process, because we need to serve these kids. A kid sitting in a classroom that can't understand a word of what's being said is not going to stay in school very long, and I know that. So we need to do the best we can with these kids, but I think what needs for me to govern the whole process is best practices. I refuse to take any ideology and say, this is the way to do it, or this is what we have to do for each one of our kids in each one of our sites. So for me, I want to hear as much as I can about this. I think this master plan is extremely important for the district, not only for the next year or two, but for the unforeseeable future. You know, what we do now and what we plan, I think is going to make a huge difference. And it's really about walking the walk. You know, we talk a lot, you know, quickly remediate. That's a Harvard professor, you know, and I've heard that many, many times. So anyway, I wish us good luck, and I'm glad it's an open process, and I would encourage all our experts to join us. I think this input is very important. I appreciate what was said tonight by our audience as well. And thank you again for your report.
Jen and then Larry.
Thank you for the report. I know that this is a really hard topic and multifaceted, and it has been going on, I know, for about 3 years, which is hard because there's been changes in staff and lots of other problems that we've been tackling during that time. So, you know, I assume that in this process you guys are working with evidence-based programs and I, for one, would be interested in seeing some, you know, if you guys have certain articles or sources that you look at, that's the kind of thing I like to look at. It'd be nice to see. But it's clearly a work in progress, and the teacher feedback is really essential. It's probably better going to you, more effective, really, than directly to us, because you guys are the ones that are going to make the changes. But it's you know, I'm glad to see that there's that dialogue that's starting. Glad to hear the superintendent's going to Montgomery tomorrow. That's going to be good. When I first started, I started looking at those Ed Trust West Achievement Gap numbers, and we score really poorly, really, really poorly. And it's interesting because I started looking at the districts that do well and the districts that do poorly, and then I actually took out a map of California and I mapped them. And you will see that the districts that do really well are clustered in areas that have simply had a higher Latino population and English learner population for a longer period of time. They're just kind of ahead of us. in terms of developing strategies. I mean, that's my theory. That makes sense to me, right? So I think they're just ahead of us. But the fact that we that we're sort of underachieving in this area and have this really high achievement gap certainly says that we need to make some changes. And so I really assume, I appreciate that we're doing that. And I appreciate your focus on access to content, and you placing great importance on that, because that is different than the language that it is taught in or heard in or understood in or brought back to you. But the access to content is what we need to provide. And so my understanding is that what you're working on is the mechanism to best provide the access to the high-level content or the grade-appropriate content. So this is complicated, and I'm sure that we're going to hear a lot more from you guys, and I appreciate your hard work on this. I know it's a work in progress. It's really hard. I appreciate the teacher, input, and I hope that you guys work together on this, and I just want to appreciate the work that you're doing, and thank you for that. And I also would be interested when you guys come back to us, because obviously you will, I'd be interested to see if you could just provide us like informational items or something, some of the research material that you rely on. Thanks.
Thank you. Larry?
Well, I appreciate all the comments of the board members. And Ron, I think you're explicitly right on. No ideology should dominate what we do. It's common sense and best practices. And I really appreciate the superintendent responding to coming out tomorrow, I think you said, to Montgomery High School, because what I'm hearing from the speakers, I mean, I think if you brought this to the task force, I think they'd have something quite a healthy discussion about the challenges you're facing in your classroom, and you come in with a very high background in education, and so I appreciate you coming and letting us know, and I appreciate the response back and the efforts that are being made. And it is a difficult subject, and we didn't talk about educational background, of how kids make the standards. A lot of them come in with no educational background. Some of them come with a high educational background. They're going to pick up the standards faster. We also need to talk about how we can get English language spoken in the home, because the more our students can hear and speak English, the faster they'll move up the CELT level. So everything we can do on the front of getting parents to participate in the home to try to learn English with their kids, the faster they'll move out of those CELT 1s and 2s. So anyway, thank you very much. Those are my comments, and thank you for your work.
So this conversation has been a long time coming. It's arrived, and it's going to stay a while. We should make a home for it, and we should make sure that everybody participates or has the opportunity to participate. And that will provide, will end up with a course of action for us as a district. And I appreciate everybody who came tonight. As was already said, I'm not going to repeat myself, but this is a long-term discussion. I think tonight we made sure that there's no doubt about that. But it can be very, very productive, and it will be very productive because our students are depending on us. So thank you very much for the presentation. We are now going to move on to F3, which is another discussion item about classroom safety device, all-in-one notification system, intercom, bells, and clock. Mr. Edson.
Good evening, President Jay, Superintendent Kitamura, members of the board. Tonight, we're bringing this as a discussion item and really an introduction to a tool. Just turn the other way around. You'll sit up. That can be used in all of our classrooms. We first talked about this a little over a year and a half ago when we talked about the technology infrastructure project and the tools that we would bring forward, not only for data networks, phones, but also classroom safety devices. It was pulled off of our initial infrastructure project, and now we're in the process of bringing this device back. Just set it up on this, yeah, it'll be fine. And we brought a sample tonight as well, a sexy clock to show everybody. And really, this is something not only that we identified early on as a technology need, but an issue at many of our school sites with old and outdated PA systems, as well as some functional, some non-functional clocks, is surely an overall need in our entire district for an increase in classroom safety, site safety, and district safety as a whole. The device we have in front of you addresses several of these areas of need. We have talked about this with several groups, including administration, SRTA, and really provides something that this district does not have. It takes into account multiple ways of notification for a classroom, including flashers for the deaf and hard of hearing, digital display, which can send messages to classrooms, whether it be announcements for a school event or for a lockdown on campus without an audible alert. It also works as a two-way PA system or intercom system for each classroom. One of the great things about this, it will also be tied into our new phone system that's in the process of configuration and installation this year. So a phone from anywhere on campus can easily utilize the system, as well as be a, any phone can utilize the system, as well as communication to a single classroom and entire site, or even communication can be from the district office to all campuses or all classrooms throughout the district as warranted. This project tonight is not for approval, but we will, in a subsequent meeting, bring this back. This is something that will affect every classroom on every campus, as well as front office areas, district office areas, and we'll also provide outdoor speakers so the PA system works both inside and outside. The outside model won't have the digital signage as well to make announcements that way, verbal only. The one thing with the implementation of our infrastructure project and the cabling projects that are currently going on, bringing this system in now will save costs in the future because we can already use existing services that are out there to install and implement this system. And it takes advantage of our already made investment into our infrastructure and our data network. This goes along with the lines that we've talked about at several other board meetings, including really being able to provide business continuity or educational continuity throughout our systems and replacing older and outdated systems. This by no means is our only safety and security project or our only safety and security device that will be going into school sites. This is one we'd like to have piggyback some of our other existing work in order to save future expenditures. That's really it. We just wanted to make sure that everyone was able to see this device, and if there were questions about what the capabilities are or what it can do.
Ron?
First question, Rick, is it's interesting. I like to have one of those. That's kind of a cool looking thing. But how many are we talking about?
Right now, we're still getting the final number together, but it would be right around 1,200, I believe.
1,200 of these guys.
Yeah.
And I noticed there wasn't a cost on this. What would have any estimate at this time before we get to the final action item?
Yeah, my preliminary right now until we get final, we're still talking with vendors right now. including installation and software, would be somewhere between the 1 and 1.3 million.
1.1 and 1.3.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Laura?
I thought this was pretty cool when I was looking at it, but an immediate thought that came into my mind, this is just a comment. With no analog clocks in the classroom, kids aren't going to know how to tell the time, because a lot of kids don't know how to tell time right now from an analog clock. So I would encourage the district to leave at least the clocks that are working up so that kids can see them and maybe know how to tell time from a clock.
Just like art pieces.
How long will this last? What's this life expectancy?
I would say as long as our clocks are lasting now. I mean,
It's a long time.
yeah, it's not a short-term solution. This is a long-term solution that is being implemented in many school districts in order to provide the other features and functionalities of a single system tied to a data network.
Okay. Anybody else? Diane?
Rick, did you explain why this wasn't on the implementation plan?
I briefly touched on it. This was part of our original technology infrastructure project approximately a year and a half ago, which, as I said, it was pulled off for some reasons, including proper contracting back when we brought the bigger project to the board in February.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll wait to hear from you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going to move to our first action item of the evening, F4, resolution for issuance of elementary school district general obligation bonds.
Okay.
Mr. Eichmann.
Thank you, President Jay, Superintendent Kitamura, and directors. This is a resolution to proceed with the issuance and sale of the elementary school district's third series of general obligation bonds to finance capital improvements in an amount not to exceed $15 million.
Questions, comments, motion?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Director Christoph, seconded by Director Pugh. Roll call vote, please.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
President Jay?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye. Thank you. Now we'll move on to F5. This is the high school district general obligation bonds. Mr. Eichmann.
Correct. And it's the same thing. It's to give the district administration their ability to proceed with the issuance in an amount not to exceed $50 million.
Move item F5.
Second.
That was moved by Director Christoph, seconded by Director Gonzalez. Roll call vote, please.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
Director Pugh? President Jay?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye. And then F6, second reading and approval of Board Policy Administrative Regulation 5117, interdistrict agreements.
Thank you,
Sarah.
President Jay, Board Member, Superintendent Kitamura. This is the second reading. There are minor revisions that were recommended by Member Carl last time to board policy. Those have been changed. Otherwise, you have the second reading for your action tonight.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Christoph, seconded by Director Hanel. Roll call vote, please.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
President Jay?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye. F7, our final item for the evening, approval of resolution recognizing November 2016 as American Indian Heritage Month.
So moved.
Moved by Director Hanel, seconded by Director Pugh. Roll call vote, please.
Director Hanel?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Christoph?
Aye.
Director Close?
Aye.
Director Gonzalez?
Aye.
President Jay?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye. Thank you very much, everyone. We're adjourned.